The small transport ship glided through the clouds of Varelia, its silver hull reflecting the twin suns. Inside, Ben, a young human diplomat, looked out of the window with quiet wonder. The sky was a soft lavender, and the floating crystal towers of the alien city sparkled like frozen lightning. He had read about Varelia in reports, but seeing it with his own eyes felt like stepping into a dream. Ben wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a scientist either. He was just good with words and better with people. That's why Earth's Council had chosen him to join this mission of peace. The humans had been invited for the first time to explore a mysterious energy vault hidden deep under Varelia's surface. The vault was ancient, powerful, and locked for centuries. But now, the Varelians wanted help. When the ship landed, Ben adjusted his uniform nervously. He wasn't used to formal events, and this one was too quiet. No crowd, no noise. Just rows of tall Varelian guards in silver robes. Their eyes were emotionless, faces unreadable. He stepped out, trying to smile. A woman stepped forward. Her skin was a soft bluish tone, her eyes silver like moonlight. She moved with grace, like the wind itself. Her name was Alira, and she was the Varelian ambassador assigned to assist him. "Welcome to Varelia, human delegate," she said calmly. "I'm Alira, guide and liaison. You may follow." Ben blinked. No handshake, no smile, just a direct command. He gave a polite nod and followed. They walked through a high hall made of transparent crystal walls. Light danced across the floor. Varelians moved quietly, never stopping, always focused. No one spoke. Ben felt like a walking alarm bell in a silent library dot as they entered the ceremonial chamber. A welcome dinner was already prepared. Strange fruits and glowing drinks shimmered on the long table, but there were no sounds of laughter, no music, just quiet chewing and careful glances. Ben took a seat beside Alira. She hadn't said another word since they entered. Her face was unreadable, but he had a feeling she was observing everything, trying to lighten the mood. Ben leaned toward her and whispered, "Is everyone always this serious? Or did I accidentally wear the wrong shoes?" Alira blinked. Then, to everyone's surprise, including her own, she gave a short laugh. It was soft and brief, like a breeze through glass, but it echoed in the silent room like thunder. All heads turned toward her. One guard even dropped his cup. Alira straightened, face turning slightly pink at the edges, a rare sign of emotion for her kind. Ben looked around nervously. Did I just break something?" Alira stared at him, then replied, "No, you simply surprised me." Her voice was quieter now. Her gaze lingered a moment too long. After dinner, Alira led Ben to his quarters. The path was long and beautiful, lined with floating orbs of light and tall crystal trees that hummed softly in the wind. "About earlier," Ben said, walking beside her. "I didn't mean to embarrass you." Alira didn't respond right away. Then she said, "Varelians are taught from childhood to hide feelings. Emotion clouds reason. But you're kind. You speak without filters. It is difficult to understand." Ben shrugged. "Sometimes we speak because we feel something. Other times, we speak because silence feels heavier." Alira looked at him again, her silver eyes searching. "You are strange," she said. Ben smiled. "You're not the first to say that." They reached his chamber, a tall room with a clear ceiling showing the stars. "You may rest now," Alira said. "We leave at dawn for the vault." Ben nodded. "Thank you, and for what it's worth, you have a nice laugh. You should use it more." Alira paused, then turned slightly. Her voice was soft. "Be careful, human. Words carry weight here." Then she walked away into the quiet night. Ben sat down on the soft bench by the window and looked up at the Varelian sky. A part of him felt like he didn't belong here. But another part, a louder part, felt like something important had just begun. He didn't know what waited in the ancient vault. He didn't know why Alira, who barely smiled, had laughed at something so small. But he knew one thing: this was no ordinary mission. The next morning, the twin suns rose slowly over Varelia's crystal peaks, bathing the city in soft gold and purple light. Ben woke early. He didn't sleep much. The stars above his glass ceiling had distracted him all night, and Alira's last words still echoed in his mind. Words carry weight here. After a quick meal, something like blue bread and sweet liquid fruit, Ben was ready. Alira arrived exactly on time, wearing a long silver cloak. Her expression was calm as always. "Are you prepared?" she asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," Ben replied, adjusting the strap of his satchel. Without a word, she turned and led him outside. They entered a sleek transport glider, which hovered above the ground and moved silently. The landscape changed quickly. The city faded behind them, replaced by tall spires of stone and glowing mist. Strange flying creatures circled in the air, and the sky turned a deeper blue as they neared the vault zone. Ben looked out the window. "So this vault, no one has ever opened it?" "No," Alira answered. "It was discovered over 100 years ago. All attempts to access it failed. Not even our strongest minds could solve its locks, and you think a human might. We think. The vault is not meant for us," she said slowly. "Its materials do not match any known Varelian technology, but they respond oddly when in contact with human items." Ben raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "You will see soon," she replied. After another hour, the glider landed on a wide, rocky plateau. Ahead stood a massive stone structure, half buried in the ground. It looked like an old temple, with glowing lines running across its surface. At the center was a sealed door, perfectly smooth and dark, with no handle or keypad. A group of Varelian scientists stood nearby, surrounded by floating tools and glowing monitors. When they saw Alira, they bowed slightly. When they saw Ben, they stared, some with curiosity, others with doubt. Alira introduced him calmly. "This is Ben, human, envoy from Earth. He will assist with access protocol." One of the scientists, an elder with deep blue skin and pale eyes, stepped forward. "We do not expect success, but if the vault responds, it may confirm our theory." Ben walked closer to the door. He could feel a soft hum in the air. Something deep inside the vault seemed alive. He placed his hand gently on the surface. At first, nothing happened. Then, the lines across the door began to glow, not in Varelian blue, but in soft golden light. The ground trembled slightly. A deep sound echoed through the plateau, like the breath of something waking from a long sleep. The Varelian stepped back in shock. Ben kept his hand steady. "Was that supposed to happen?" "No," Alira whispered. "That has never happened before." Slowly, the door opened. Inside was a dark hallway filled with swirling energy. Strange symbols lit up along the walls. Ben took a step back, unsure what to do. The elder scientist spoke, voice shaking. "The vault responds only to him. He is the key." Ben looked at Alira, confused. "Why me?" She stared at the open passage, then looked at him. "I do not know, but now we must go in." They prepared quickly. Ben was given a small shield device for protection. Alira carried a scanning tool and a data core. Two guards joined them, but even they looked nervous. The inside of the vault was warmer than expected. The walls pulsed with light, and strange hums echoed around them. Ben felt like he was walking through something alive. As they moved deeper, the path split into three. The central tunnel glowed golden. The left path was dark, and the right shimmered with violet light. Alira scanned each path. "Only the central path is stable. We follow it." Ben walked beside her. "What do you think this place was?" "Perhaps a power station, or a precursor sanctuary," she replied. "But the energy signature is unlike anything we know." After 20 minutes of walking, they reached a chamber. In its center stood a tall pillar with floating symbols circling it. There was a slot shaped like a hand, but not Varelian. "Try it," Alira said softly. Ben hesitated, then placed his hand into the slot. The pillar lit up. A voice echoed around them. Not in any known language, but somehow Ben understood it. "If you hear this message, then the bloodline has returned. You are the spark, the bridge." Ben stepped back, stunned. "Did you hear that?" Alira looked shaken. "We heard only sound, nothing clear." Ben repeated the message. The guards looked at each other in disbelief. "This confirms it," Alira said, voice quiet. The creators of this vault were linked to humans, perhaps. The humans are not visitors to the stars. Perhaps they are the forgotten children of them. Ben didn't know what to say. Suddenly, a low beep came from Alira's scanner, an energy spike. She said, coming from the lower chamber, "We should return," as they turned to leave. Ben noticed something odd. The lights behind them were fading. One of the guards spoke. "The vault is closing. Run," Alira ordered. They rushed back through the hallway. The walls trembled, and the hum grew louder. Dust fell from the ceiling. As they neared the entrance, the door was already halfway closed. Ben pushed Alira ahead. "Go. I'll follow." They dove through just as the door sealed behind them. A cloud of dust filled the air, and silence returned. Everyone was breathing hard. Ben turned to Alira. "Is it always like this on Varelia?" She looked at him, hair slightly messy from the run, and gave a small smile. "Not until you arrived." The next day, the Varelian city was filled with quiet whispers. For the first time in over a century, the ancient vault had opened, and it had opened only for a human. Ben sat in a round meeting room with glass walls, surrounded by Varelian scientists and leaders. Alira stood nearby, calm as always, but her eyes kept drifting toward him. He noticed the lead scientist, Elder Zurin, spoke with a slow and careful tone. "The energy patterns recorded from the vault match no known source on our planet. But there is something unusual. The structure seems to recognize human DNA." Ben leaned forward. "So, what does that mean?" "That humans are related to whoever built it." "Possibly," Zern said. "Or perhaps the builders were an ancient race that visited Earth long ago and left something behind." Alira added, "The voice you heard. The others could not understand it, only you could. That cannot be ignored." Ben looked down at his hands. "I didn't do anything special. I just touched the door." "Sometimes," Alira replied. "That is all it takes to change history." Zern stepped forward. "We need you to return to the vault. There are deeper chambers we could not reach, but we believe they will respond to you." Ben stood, feeling the weight of the task. "Then let's do it." A few hours later, Ben and Alira boarded the glider again, this time with a smaller team. The guards stayed behind, as Alira believed their presence might trigger another reaction in the vault systems. The flight was quiet. Ben stared out the window, then turned to Alira. "You really believe I'm connected to this place?" Alira nodded. "I do not believe in chance. The vault waited for centuries, untouched. You arrive, and it opens. That is not random." Ben smiled slightly. "And here I thought I was just a clumsy diplomat." She looked at him for a moment. "You still might be." He laughed, and for the first time, Alira smiled. A real one, small, but genuine. Inside the vault, the golden lights returned as soon as Ben touched the inner wall. The hallway opened wider, revealing new steps leading downward. They followed them carefully, Alira scanning the walls while Ben kept a hand near the glowing edges. At the bottom, they entered a chamber unlike the others. It was shaped like a star, with 5 doors and a glowing orb in the center. The orb floated silently, waiting. Ben approached. As he did, symbols began to appear in the air, moving quickly, changing shapes. Then, a soft voice echoed again. This time, Alira heard it too. "You have returned. The cycle begins again." Ben took a step back. "Did you hear that?" Alira nodded slowly. "Yes, the vault. It's talking to both of us now." The orb pulsed with light, then projected an image, a galaxy, spinning in space, with lines connecting different planets. Alira's eyes widened. Those planets. Some of them match old records, worlds believed lost or unreachable. Ben pointed to one of the lights. "That's Earth." The lines between the planets lit up one by one, ending with a bright flash at the center of the galaxy. Then, the image vanished. Ben whispered, "What was that?" Alira replied softly, "A map, a connection, maybe a message." Suddenly, a small compartment opened near the wall. Inside was a round crystal, no larger than a coin. It floated into Ben's hand the moment he reached for it. "It's warm," he said, "like it's alive." Alira scanned it. Energy levels are stable. But we don't know what it does. Ben looked at her. Should I take it? She hesitated, then nodded. It came to you. Maybe it's meant to be with you. They turned to leave, but something didn't feel right. As they reached the stairs, a sudden tremor shook the chamber. Ben grabbed a support beam. Was that an earthquake? No. Alira said, checking her scanner. That was a power surge. From outside, she tapped her wrist communicator. Control, respond. No answer. Ben frowned. Communications down. Yes, she said, face tightening. Something's wrong. They moved quickly through the tunnels, the vault's lights flickering. When they reached the exit, they saw the sky had turned gray. Smoke was rising from a ridge nearby. A small Varelian drone arrived, flashing a warning signal. Alira read the message silently, then looked at Ben. There was an explosion at the outer station. Someone sabotaged the power grid. Ben stared. Why would anyone do that? Alira's voice was low. There are some who do not want humans involved. They fear change. Ben's eyes narrowed. You think they wanted to trap us inside? Yes, she said, and maybe destroy the vault too. Back at the city, the council began an investigation. While some were in shock, others whispered doubts. Rumors spread that the human caused the vault to react dangerously, that he brought trouble. But Alira stood in front of them and spoke firmly. This human did nothing wrong. Without him, the vault would still be silent. We now have proof of an ancient connection, one that links our worlds, not divides them. Ben stood beside her. Whoever's trying to stop this, they're afraid of the truth. But we can't let fear guide us. The council remained silent. Later, outside the hall, Alira walked with Ben through a quiet garden filled with floating lights. She looked tired, but calm. You did well, she said. Ben smiled. You too. You're braver than you think. She turned to him slowly. And you are not what I expected. Ben looked at her. Good or bad? Alira gave a quiet laugh, still deciding. They stood there for a moment under the alien sky. Then she spoke, her voice softer than usual. Don't look at me like that, or I'll really fall for you. Ben blinked. What? Alira turned away quickly, pretending to examine a glowing tree. Nothing. Forget I said it. But Ben smiled, and didn't forget. The night on Varelia was quiet, but not peaceful. High above the glowing city towers, shadowy figures moved through the dark. A silent drone hovered over a crystal dome, scanning for signs of weakness. It wasn't a peaceful visitor. It was built for one purpose: sabotage. Below, Ben sat inside a small guest room at the diplomatic center. His hand gently rolled the strange precursor crystal between his fingers. It still felt warm, like it was alive. He stared at it, trying to make sense of everything, of all that spoke to him. A map of distant planets, and Ali Ra. She had changed since their first meeting. Less cold, more open, and earlier that evening, she'd said something he hadn't forgotten. Don't look at me like that, or I'll really fall for you. He smiled slightly, though he wasn't sure if she had meant it or not. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A low hum filled the room, and the wall panel beeped in warning. Ben stood up, alert. Then came the sound, distant at first, then louder. An explosion across the complex. Alarms began to ring. Crystal lights flashed red, and the emergency system echoed through the halls in the Varelian language. Alira was already awake and rushing toward the control chamber. Her cloak flowed behind her as her boots clicked on the crystal floors. When she reached the command deck, she found chaos. Monitors blinked, security officers shouted, and smoke was rising from the northern wing. She quickly found Zern. What happened? He pointed to a screen. An authorized drone strike. One of our own drones was reprogrammed to damage the vault relay tower. Our power links to the vault have been disabled. Alira's mind raced. Without the relay, they couldn't study the vault remotely or protect it. Is Ben safe? She asked sharply. Ian blinked. The human? We don't know. His quarters were near the relay tower. Without another word, Alira turned and ran. Ben was already moving down the hallway when the second explosion shook the building. Part of the ceiling collapsed, sending shards of crystal falling. He covered his head and dove forward, rolling onto the floor. His ears rang, but he was okay. That's when he heard the voice. Ben, it was Alira. She ran into the smoke, coughing, eyes wide. When she saw him, she paused in relief, then rushed to help him up. You're not hurt, just dust, he said. What's going on? Someone attacked the tower. We think it's the same ones who tried to trap us in the vault. Ben frowned. They're trying to stop the truth from spreading. Yes, she said. And they may try again. As they moved down the corridor, another tremor shook the floor. A third explosion closer this time. Alira grabbed his arm. Come with me. They ran together through the emergency tunnel, moving deeper into the underground section of the city. Lights flickered as security systems tried to hold the structure together. They finally stopped inside a hidden chamber, filled with old Varelian tech. Alira sealed the door behind them. For a moment, the world was quiet again. Ben leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Who would do this? Don't they want peace? There are some, Alira said, who believe Varelia should never trust outsiders. They see the vault as a threat and you as a weapon. Ben shook his head. I didn't ask for any of this, I know, she said gently. But sometimes, the galaxy chooses us anyway. Later, after the fires were under control and the attackers had vanished into the night, the council gathered for an emergency meeting. Many leaders looked angry. Others looked afraid. Zair spoke first. We have been attacked from within. Security footage shows that one of our own engineers reprogrammed the drone. Ben's eyes narrowed. A saboteur. Yes, Alira said. He was seen meeting with a secret faction, the Circle of Silence. They believe the vault should remain closed forever. One counselor stood. Then perhaps the human should leave. His presence invites danger. Ben didn't flinch, or maybe the danger was already here. I didn't cause it, I uncovered it. Alira stepped forward. If he leaves now, we lose everything. The vault chose him. We must protect that connection. The room fell silent. Then Zurin said, let him finish what he started, and let us protect both him and the vault. That night, Ben stood once again in the garden with Alira. The stars above were clearer now, peaceful. But both of them knew it wouldn't last. Alira spoke first. You should not have been near the blast. I'm glad you weren't hurt. You came for me, Ben said. You didn't have to. She looked at him. I did. I couldn't let you be harmed. Ben smiled. That's not very logical of you. Alira looked away, then back at him with a small, quiet smile. Maybe I'm learning to be a little less logical. Ben stepped closer. You said something earlier. In the garden? I remember. She said softly. Did you mean it? She didn't answer right away. Then, slowly, she nodded. Yes. Ben didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. The silence between them was full of meaning now. Then Alira added, in a gentle voice, but be careful, Ben. This journey isn't over. The vault has only begun to reveal its secrets. Ben looked up at the stars. Then let's keep going. Together, Alira nodded, and for the first time, she reached out, not for duty, not for orders, but simply to hold his hand. The days after the sabotage were tense, security was tighter, and Varelian leaders watched Ben more closely. Some whispered doubts, while others remained silent. But Alira stayed by his side, calm and steady as always. One morning, Ben found her standing alone in a quiet garden. The air was cool, and soft light filtered through the crystal leaves. I want to ask you something, Ben said, stepping forward. Alira looked at him, asked, why do your people hide emotions? I mean, you always seem so controlled. Like feelings are a weakness? Alira's eyes grew distant. In Varelian culture, emotion is seen as chaos. It clouds judgment. From childhood, we are taught that to survive, we must be logical. Ben nodded slowly. But don't you feel lonely sometimes, or want to express joy or sadness? She hesitated. Sometimes. But those feelings are private. Public emotion is discouraged. Ben smiled softly. That sounds lonely. Alira's gaze softened. It can be. But it is our way. Ben looked at her closely. What about you? Have you always been like this? She blinked, surprised by the question. No. I was taught to be perfect, to hide every feeling. But since you arrived, I have found it harder to keep the mask, Ben chuckled. I guess humans have that effect. Alira's lips curved into a faint smile. Yes, your emotions confuse me, but also fascinate me. Ben stepped closer. You don't have to hide with me. She looked down. I'm not sure how to show what I feel. Ben reached out, gently touching her hand. Start small. I'm here. For a moment, their eyes met. The air between them was quiet and full. Then, Alira looked away, a blush coloring her cheeks. That evening, Ben received a message. The council wanted him in the main chamber immediately. When he arrived, the room was full. Varelian leaders sat in rows, watching him with guarded eyes. Alira stood nearby, her face serious. The council elder, a tall figure with glowing blue skin, spoke first. We have reviewed the data from the vault and your interactions with it, Ben. The evidence suggests that humans share a connection with the precursors, an ancient race believed to have seeded life across many worlds. Ben nodded. That's what we found. The elder continued. This changes everything. If true, humanity's role in galactic history is far greater than we imagined. Another leader raised a hand. If humans are linked to the precursors, what does that mean for our alliances, for Varelia? Alira answered, it means we must work closer together. The vault is a symbol not just of power, but of unity. Ben added, we have a chance to build trust, to share knowledge and culture. The room fell silent. After a long pause, the elder said, we will form a new diplomatic mission, including humans and Varelians. Alira will join Earth's delegation. Ben looked at Alira. You're coming to Earth. She smiled softly. Yes, to learn more about you and your people. Days passed as Ben and Alira prepared for the journey. Training, briefings, and farewells filled their time. But through it all, their bond grew stronger. One afternoon, they walked along the city's edge, watching the twin suns set. You have changed, Alira, Ben said. You laugh more now. She laughed quietly. You're a good influence, Ben smiled. You changed me too. She looked at him, eyes shining. I think I am falling for you. Ben's heart skipped. I'm glad you said that first. Alira reached for his hand. We will face challenges ahead, but I want to face them with you. Ben squeezed her hand. Together. That night, under the soft light of the Varelian moons, Ben held the crystal from the vault. It glowed faintly in his palm. Alira sat beside him. The vault gave you this for a reason. Ben nodded. I think it's a key, not just to the vault, but to something bigger. She looked at the stars. The galaxy is waiting for us. Ben smiled, feeling hope and excitement. Then let's not keep it waiting. The journey from Varelia to Earth was long, but Ben and Alira used the time well. They talked about their worlds, their people, and the mysteries of the vault. Alira learned about Earth's oceans, forests, and cities, while Ben listened to stories of Varelia's ancient culture and its strict ways. When their ship finally entered Earth's orbit, Ben felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was his home, but now with Alira by his side, everything felt new. On the space station above Earth, a large group awaited them, scientists, diplomats, and media crews. The news of the vault's opening had spread fast. Everyone wanted to learn more. Ben and Alira stood together as they were introduced to Earth's lead scientist, Dr. Maya. She was warm and curious, her eyes sparkling with interest. We've studied the crystal you brought, Dr. Maya said, holding it carefully. Its energy pattern matches none of our known technology, but it's remarkably stable. Alira looked at the crystal in Ben's hand. We believe it is a key, but to what? We do not know. Ben nodded. The vault spoke of a connection between humans, Varelians, and others. We want to find out what that means. Dr. Maya smiled. Then let's start by decoding the messages inside the vault's data core. For days, teams worked together, humans and Varelians sharing knowledge and culture. The data core revealed star maps, ancient languages, and technology blueprints. Slowly, a story emerged. Long ago, the precursors were a race that traveled the galaxy, planting life seeds on many planets. Humans were their creation, a bridge between worlds meant to unite civilizations. This explains why the vault recognized Ben, Alira said, because he carries their legacy. Ben felt a deep pride and responsibility, so we are not alone. Our history is tied to the stars. However, not everyone was happy with this discovery. On a remote Varelian moon, a group called the Circle of Silence gathered. Their leader, an older man named Terran, spoke angrily. This revelation threatens everything we believe in, Terran said. Humans are outsiders, and now we see they claim to be our ancestors. It is a lie. A younger member replied, we must act before this spreads. The vault must remain closed. Terran nodded. We will stop the mission. By any means necessary. Back on Earth's station, Ben and Alira continued their work. One evening, Alira showed Ben a small room she had found, a place where Varelians could express their feelings freely, away from public eyes. She turned to him. I want you to see a part of me few have seen. Ben smiled warmly. I'm honored. For the first time, Alira laughed freely. Her emotions no longer hidden. She shared stories of her childhood, her fears, and her hopes. Ben listened carefully, feeling their bond deepen. You taught me that emotions are strength, she said softly. Not weakness. Ben nodded. That's what makes us human. Meanwhile, tensions rose as the Circle of Silence prepared their plan. One night, alarms rang through the space station. Security teams rushed to find the source of a sabotage attempt on the communication array. Ben and Alira were nearby when the warning sounded. Alira grabbed Ben's arm. They're here. The Circle's agents had infiltrated the station, trying to cut off contact between Earth and Varelia. Ben's heart raced. We have to stop them. Together, they raced through the corridors, dodging security doors and warning signals. At the control room, they found a group of masked figures, attempting to disable the main console. Ben shouted, Stop! You will fail! The saboteurs turned, startled. But before they could react, station security arrived, quickly capturing them. Alira breathed deeply. They are desperate. Ben looked at her, determination shining in his eyes. So are we. In the calm after the attack, Ben and Alira stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars. Alira spoke softly. Our mission is bigger than us now. We carry the hope of many worlds. Ben took her hand, and together we will protect that hope. She smiled, the light in her eyes brighter than ever. The day was bright on Earth's lunar station. The sky above was deep black, sprinkled with countless stars. Ben and Alira walked slowly through the large biodome, where Earth plants grew alongside Varelian flowers. The gentle hum of life surrounded them. After months of challenges, discoveries, and dangers, the mission had brought to worlds closer than ever before. Alira stopped beside a clear pond, watching the water ripple softly. Do you remember the first time we met? She asked quietly. Ben smiled. How could I forget? You laughed in that serious dinner hall. I think I surprised you? Alira nodded. I was not used to laughter, especially from a human. Ben looked at her. You've come a long way since then. She laughed softly. So have you? For a moment, they stood in silence, comfortable and warm. Then Alira turned toward him, her silver eyes bright. Ben, why do you always look at me like that? He blinked, surprised. Like what? Like you see something more than just an ambassador or a colleague. Ben smiled gently. Because you're not like anyone I have ever met. She stepped closer. And why is that? Because you are brave, kind, and curious. You are learning what it means to feel. Alira looked down, then back up with a soft smile. I'm still learning. But with you, I want to learn more. Ben reached for her hand. Suddenly, the crystal from the vault, which Ben always carried, glowed faintly in his palm. It's reacting again, Ben said. Alira's eyes widened. It's a sign. They looked up at the stars, feeling a connection, deeper than words. Later, in the great hall of the lunar station, leaders from Earth, Varelia, and other allied worlds gathered. Ben stood before them, holding the crystal. We have uncovered a legacy older than any of us imagined, he said. The precursors created a pathway for life to unite across the stars. And humans are part of that path. Alira stepped forward. Our worlds are connected not only by history but by hope. Together, we can build a future where all beings thrive. Applause filled the hall. But then, Terran, the leader of the Circle of Silence, appeared. He raised his hand. You speak of hope, but what you bring is chaos. Humans are not our ancestors. They are invaders. Ben met Terran's gaze calmly. Truth is not decided by fear. Alira stood beside Ben, strong and sure. We choose to believe in unity, not division. The room fell silent. Then slowly, voices of support rose. Terran's group was outnumbered. That evening, Ben and Alira returned to the biodome. Do you regret coming here? Ben asked gently. Alira shook her head. No, I have found a new home. And someone special. Ben smiled. I feel the same. They walked together beneath the glowing trees. Alira stopped and looked up at the stars. Ben, she said softly when I first said, don't look at me like that, or I'll really fall for you. I was afraid. Afraid of what? Of losing control. Of emotions that could make me vulnerable. Ben took her hands in his. Sometimes. The greatest strength is in vulnerability. She smiled and leaned closer. Then maybe I'm ready to fall. Ben's heart swelled. Under the silent stars, two worlds stood united, and two hearts beat together.